No. Like nectar. How bees extract nectar from flowers.
But bees have
Now,
two.
sure, we can that. Right. Please try to understanding technology. Allow us to go back to the chat. Please put your hands down. Okay. Now, in this activity, guys, you have this image, and I'm going to show you another one. You need to basically just listen for about question second. And it's here for another while.
There is only one picture.
Yeah.
The big bear is smiling.
The
There's a
smiling
flower.
part.
And there are two bees instead of three.
Yes.
There is one flower.
Ah, yes. That's the part. Then,
Then
yeah, there is bush. Yeah, the grass is big.
very interesting.
There are more.
Oh man, one branch is cut it off.
The branch has been cut off, and there is a bush that is on the sea. This is present in the big one, and that section is water. You know that the grass doesn't exist, but where it can. Isn't there the the grass is big together? Oh no, the grass is. Oh yeah, the bush. The bush is big, tiny. Me now.
Where's clues?
So many.
Let's
Look
see.
at them. Let's see. First one now. Everyone open the first one now. Then come back where you call it.
Ma'am, wait a minute, I am going to toilet.
Okay, come back. I'm going to wait a bit further. So until we have begun with the first one. Nishan, open the first one. Okay, now. Other, can you let us know what the main idea of this picture will be in the first question? Quickly, the third workout was lots and lots and lots of questions.
This picture is showing that wolf is destined for sheep.
No. And you are not other, Nishad. Wait for your turn.
Tell you.
I know we all probably love playing games, but guys, you know how some games just get you so frustrated? You feel like you want to break something? I've never broken something, but I have hurt my fists under the table. However, some people have gone as far as unaliving others over games. While playing a game, so today, we'll be looking at the worst things caused by video games, and you might have even played one of these. So guys, if you love Roblox like me, then make sure to like and subscribe. Alright, my little beings, have you all ever tried VR? I have, but I can't play for too long. It just makes me dizzy. But if you guys have tried it before, you know how it makes you draw where you can go so you don't run into stuff, right? Well, imagine you didn't do that, and your house had really sharp objects. Well, that's kind of what happened to this guy. Take a look.
He ran around his apartment in virtual reality, and the game didn't map his apartment properly. And as he played, he tripped on a glass table. He then paused and was shattered instantly, and dozens of glass shards sliced into his body. With no one there to help, he bled out quickly. By the time he was found, he had died in both realities.
Oh my god, what even made him run around like that? Was he like getting chased around by a zombie in the game? Like imagine running for your life in a game, and then losing life in real life. That's so sad, oh my gosh. I could never, because my parents would get so mad at me if I ran around in the house. But like, rest in peace to that guy. Alright, but this next one really broke my heart. Y'all know how some people just live off the news? Like, my little brother goes crazy when he's in the middle of something on his iPad, and my mom takes it away from him. But guys, my brother getting mad is nothing compared to what this grown man did to a little 3-year-old girl who disturbed him while he was playing. He literally punched this 3-year-old girl to death. Take a look.
3-year-old girl, all because she interrupted his game. So Justin Bennett was just playing a video game when his girlfriend's daughter, Ivy Week, threw a tantrum, and this caused him to just snap and end up beating Ivy. Ivy's mom came out of the bathroom just in time to see Ivy unconscious in Justin's arms, and soon after they rushed her to the hospital where she, days later,
He needs to be checked into the mental hospital or thrown in jail for life. Like your own girlfriend's daughter? That girlfriend has to get better taste. Like first she gets a deadbeat dad, and then her next boyfriend just unalives her child with his bare hands. She's either got really bad luck or she's cursed. That little girl. Listen to this. Alright guys, let's change the mood a bit with a real life game instead. Y'all probably went out the wrong issue before. If you don't know what it is, it's basically when you ring someone's door or knock on it and you sprint your way as fast as you can. I've done it before as a kid, and I remember it was pretty fun. I don't know why. I'm pretty lucky though, because people can't get guns here in Denmark. But y'all, in America, it's a whole different story. This kid literally got shot when he ding-dong ditched someone. Take a look.
So apparently, kids can't even play ding-dong ditch anymore without it turning deadly. It used to. An 11-year-old boy was shot after ringing someone's doorbell and running away with his friends. 11 years old, just a kid playing a prank, and he never made it back home. Police said this wasn't self-defense. The boy wasn't breaking in, wasn't a threat. He was literally running away when it happened. That's not protection. That's a tragedy. And sadly, this isn't the first case. Just a few months ago, ago, an 18-year-old filming a ding-dong ditch video for TikTok lost his life. And last year, 2 teens died after a man rammed their car because they pulled a prank on him. Back then, ding-dong ditch was silly but harmless. Worst case, someone came outside yelling and you had to sprint down the block. So if you're even thinking about doing it, stay safe, be smart, and don't risk everything over a doorbell. Rant, signing off.
Just shooting someone over a ding-dong ditch? Y'all, if you're American, probably start a ding-dong ditch if you haven't already. You never know what kind of psycho might be behind that door. Hey guys, since they said this happened more than once, I actually did some research on this. You won't believe this, but someone literally got in their car and rammed into 3 teens unaliving them. All because they rang his doorbell? So like, you're telling me that even if they don't have a gun, they might still run you over?
A parent is supposed to be your first love and your best friend. They are the ones who give us life, protect us, and keep us safe when the world is scary. For most of us, home is a place of peace. But for a boy named Carlos, home was a prison, and his parents became his enemies. Today, we are looking at a story that feels like a nightmare. It is the story of a son who loved video games so much that he forgot the difference between a game and real life. He did something so terrible to his own family that it will keep you awake at night. You might think Roblox is just for fun, but after you see what Carlos did, you will never feel safe in the server again. Why did he do it? What did his friend Gabriel find when he walked into that house? Stay tuned, because this story is as dark as it gets. And well, people, this case starts being told to us by an anonymous person, who in this video we will call Gabriel. Gabriel tells us that it all began when he was 13 years old. He was a fairly regular student at his school. He had friends and got normal grades. Gabriel liked video games a lot, and there was one in particular that caught his attention quite a bit because of the amount of things he could do in that game. And guess what? That game was Roblox. At that time, Roblox wasn't as well known as it is now. Almost nobody played it. It was rare to hear that someone liked it. But Gabriel liked it. Played almost daily. Gabriel didn't tell anyone at his school that he played Roblox because they were going to talk badly about him. Because at that time, they bullied people who played games like Roblox. Gabriel had a classmate in his course who everyone knew played Roblox. Everyone in the school picked on him because he was quiet and had no friends. And Gabriel didn't say anything to him because he also played Roblox. But one day, Gabriel had to do a group project with his classmate who played Roblox. While they were doing the work, Gabriel confessed that he also played Roblox, and then he loved it for its great variety of things he could do. This classmate of Gabriel's was amazed because he thought that nobody in his school played Roblox, and that's why they picked on him so much. These two ended up becoming friends, and this new friend of Gabriel, we will call Carlos. Carlos and Gabriel now play Roblox together after getting home from school. They immediately connect to play. To Gabriel, Carlos seemed like a slightly weird person. He was very quiet, but he liked playing Roblox with him. He thought that he was like that because he didn't have many friends, but he was very wrong. Because as the weeks went by, he realized that in Carlos's house, there were many problems. Carlos told him everything that was happening to Gabriel, and Gabriel was shocked by everything he told him. Carlos's father is an alcoholic person, and Carlos's mother is a person who doesn't want the life she has. Many problems. So the mother always takes it out on her son Carlos, causing Carlos to remain quiet and have no friends. Gabriel, upon hearing everything that was happening, felt quite a bit of pity for Carlos, but he couldn't do anything for him, simply offer his friendship. At that time, Roblox was starting to popularize games where they have weapons like arsenal. So, Carlos and Gabriel would play those games because they liked them a lot. These two started looking for more games similar to those, and honestly, they found them quite funny because some were quite poorly made, until they found one in particular that changed everything. We are told that the game was called Matanos, Kill Them. Gabriel discovered that game and invited Carlos to try that game together for the first time. We are told that the game starts with a black screen that said, "They bother you? Kill them. They mistreat you? Kill them." Do you want to be happy? Kill them. Do you want to be free? Kill them. And immediately the match starts, in which there was only one player with a gun, who was Carlos. And the other players of the match were sitting down, among which there was only Gabriel. Gabriel was tied to a chair. The game, for the era they were playing it, looked quite realistic. A message appeared on Carlos's screen which said, "Kill them." Carlos aimed the weapon at Gabriel and shot him in the arm. In the game, it was seen how his friend Gabriel's arm came off and broke into pieces. Carlos was quite surprised by how realistic the game looked. He couldn't believe it. Carlos shot him again, this time in the other arm, causing creepy screams to be heard in the game. From Gabriel's perspective, it looked quite dark. He only saw how his friend shot him, and blood appeared on the screen. Gabriel didn't like that game at all, but Carlos was enjoying it a lot for some strange reason. Then Carlos continued shooting his friend's body. Gabriel was completely torn apart, and after Gabriel's character received all these shots, they kicked him out of the game, and a message appeared on Carlos's screen which said, "You finally did it. Now you are free." Carlos loved everything he experienced. He felt like never before. He thought he was never going to forget the feeling he had. Carlos told Gabriel to play that game again, but Gabriel hadn't liked that game, didn't accept. At this, Carlos got very angry with him, because whenever Gabriel invited him to play a game that Carlos didn't like, he would still accept. But now that Carlos is asking Gabriel, he doesn't want to. Carlos became obsessed with that game. He couldn't forget the feeling. He wanted to play it again, but he had no one to play it with, so he became quite sad. Days passed. Carlos and Gabriel remained angry. Carlos went back to playing alone, which caused him to miss the only friend he had. And just around that time, the parents' fights increased, and therefore poor Carlos was beaten much more. We were told that it was abuse, as if they wanted to kill him. Now, every time they hit Carlos, he remembered the text from the game that said, "They mistreat you, kill them." Now that always came to Carlos's head. He felt an immense emotion, but he didn't dare to do it. Although his parents mistreated him and didn't pay him much attention, Carlos still appreciated it. Carlos now arrived at school from time to time with a sleepy face, and other times with purple arms, but he knew them from sweat. The only one who knew about this was his friend Gabriel. And Gabriel, seeing that this became more frequent, decided to talk to Carlos again. Carlos told him everything that was happening, that his parents were worse than ever, and he felt very alone because he wasn't playing with anyone. So Carlos and Gabriel played together again. Carlos was always begging Gabriel to play that game again, and Gabriel didn't want to, but since he felt pity for his friend Carlos, he decided to accept. Carlos got very excited about this and immediately connected to the game. Gabriel appeared again, sitting in a chair, and some messages appeared on Carlos's screen again saying, "You still haven't done it. If it made you feel bad, kill them. What are you waiting for?" Yes, those texts are quite dark, people. But anyway, the game started. Once again, Carlos was in front of Gabriel. Carlos had a weapon and proceeded to shoot Gabriel, which generated an immense satisfaction to Carlos. He felt that by doing that, he felt free, as if nothing worried him. While Carlos shot him, only bone-chilling screams of pain were heard on Gabriel's screen. Blood splashed on the screen. He says it felt like a very real experience. He didn't like that game. Those screams sounded like real people, as if they were actually being shot. While Carlos shot Gabriel in every part of his body, he began to smile in real life. It had been a long time since Carlos had smiled like that, to the point that he laughed too much. This hadn't happened since he was a child. When he finished shooting him, Gabriel's character was in pieces and kicked him out of the game. Then a message appeared on Carlos's screen which said, "Do it." Gabriel tells us that after that, Carlos became a totally different person. He was weirder than usual because they continued playing that day, but Carlos laughed at everything, whereas before, Gabriel had never heard him laugh. They stopped playing, Roblox, and he also wasn't connected to Roblox anymore. This made Gabriel worry even more, as he thought something had happened to his friend. Out of concern, he decided to write to Carlos on Roblox, but Carlos didn't answer him. Gabriel didn't know what to do, as he didn't know the location of his house. Then, Gabriel tells us that it occurred to him to do something very risky, and that was to break into the school records to look for the information regarding his friend's home address. Gabriel was successful in doing it. Nobody discovered him, so the next afternoon, he decided to go to his friend's house to see what was happening with him. When he arrived at the house, he saw that the yard was neglected. There were too many tall weeds. He knocked on the door several times.
Mystery Cube.
He opened it for him. He decided to try opening it himself and realized it was unlocked. Gabriel tells us that he felt like a fool since he spent 15 minutes knocking on the door. But anyway, once he opened it, a horrible smell hit him, one that he had never in his life experienced. It gave him nausea just smelling it, but he kept walking.
Mystery Cube killed them. Mystery Cube.
The house was 2 stories. Gabriel had already checked the entire first floor and hadn't found anything, so he decided to go up. And as he went up, he says that smell got stronger and stronger. He could no longer hold back the urge to vomit. Gabriel approached the first door, which was a little open. He opened it completely and saw something he could never in his life have imagined. There were the bodies of Carlos's dad and mom on the floor with knife marks. The smell was horrible. Next to them was Carlos, sitting there, laughing and repeating the phrase, "I'm finally free. I'm finally free." Gabriel tells us that he couldn't take it anymore, vomiting on the floor, making Carlos realize he was there. Gabriel realized that Carlos had looked back at him. Their eyes met, and he saw that something in his gaze had changed. Now his friend Carlos scared him quite a bit. Carlos laughed upon looking at him. He tried to get up to greet his friend, but Gabriel ran out of the house. Since that day, Carlos hasn't gone to school, and Gabriel was left quite traumatized. Gabriel is telling us about this case, but he doesn't know whether to tell the police because to him, Carlos is still his friend. He also tells us to be careful with people because you never know what they are hiding. People, what a disturbing story, truly. Carlos is crazy. This story serves as a chilling reminder for all of us. The biggest lesson we can take from Carlos is that video games are meant to be a form of entertainment, not a blueprint for reality. While games like Roblox offer us a world of imagination and escape, we must never let the digital world blur our sense of right and wrong. Real life has real consequences, and the pain we see on a screen is nothing compared to the tragedy Carlos brought upon his family. No matter how difficult life gets, a game is never the solution. If this story shocked you or made you think twice about the people around you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more dark stories and deep dives. Yours.
Every kid loves to play and have fun. However, sometimes things go wrong and some things do. Today, we will look into this. Like and subscribe to stay safe. We all love our parents, but in this incident, a heavy bomb underneath her son. This gets disturbing, so let's take a look.
This 340-pound mother stabbed her child on 2 weeks ago. Jennifer Wilson stabbed her son outside of her home in an attempt to stop him from acting up. And the even more disturbing part is that this whole situation is caught on video footage. They said the mother was on top of the child for at least 5 minutes, which is just insane. Jennifer was the adopted mother of the young 10-year-old boy who only weighed 90 pounds. And keep in mind, she weighed 340 pounds.
Holy moly, 340 pounds is almost the weight of a bridge. Imagine a bridge fall falling on top of you clouds that is scary.
The boy kept screaming, and his mother tried to call the caseworker. Eventually, the boy stopped moving, and at one point, she even asked him if he was thinking and saw his eyelids were extremely pink. When the police arrived, the young boy was no longer there and had no clue. But what makes this case even sadder is before this happened, the young boy went to his neighbor's house and begged them to adopt him because he said his parents were hit in the face. Jennifer Wilson was arrested and faces only 6 years in prison, which is not enough time at all, in my opinion.
6 years for killing your son is way too little. If I was the judge, I would send her to prison forever. She is so mean. I think Dakota is in a better place now, and I really hope this doesn't happen to us. We all go to the doctor whenever we are sick. However, this boy went to the doctor and ended up. This gets disturbing so much until the end.
The tape flew across the room, striking the boy in the head as he was undergoing an MRI scan after a surgery. But during the procedure, a staff member accidentally brought a metal oxygen tank into the room, and when the machine was turned on, its massive magnet pulled the tank into the chamber where the boy was laying. Despite medical attention, he passed away 2 days later.
Oh my goodness, this is super sad. All of this happened because of one mistake of the nurse. The good thing is that the parents earned $3 million, but no life is worth just money. I was able to find footage of this incident, so let's take a look.
He was rushed to an MRI after a life-saving surgery. The nurse ignored the danger signs and carried an oxygen tank inside. The massive machine ripped the tank from her hands and killed the 6-year-old instantly.
This is so sad. Comment with Michael if you will miss him. This next incident is so sad because a 10-year-old girl was trying to save his baby stuck in the road, but she didn't make it out in time. Luckily, the baby survived, but let's take a look at this.
This 10-year-old girl saved 2 lives, but lost her mom. Sheila Larson was just 10 years old, living in a quiet California neighborhood. She was spirited, protected, and full of love for her family and friends. And that love would soon be tested in the most unimaginable way. On February 22nd, 2016, Kira was watching 2 younger children, ages 1 and 2, playing goodbye. Everything seemed peaceful until it wasn't. A parked SUV began speeding towards the unsuspecting toddlers. Time seemed to freeze as the vehicle gained speed and headed straight for the children.
Clowns, I do not get why this car didn't stop for the children. Like, did we not see them? Let's see what happens next.
In that moment, Kira didn't hesitate. Without a second thought for her own safety, she sprinted towards the children, pushing the car left. But Kira wasn't fast enough to save herself. The SUV struck her with full force, hitting her underneath. The laughter of the kids playing was replaced by panic screams as they rushed to the scene. Kira was then taken to the hospital, but the injuries were way too severe. The great little girl who had just saved 2 lives didn't survive.
I feel so bad that this girl died just because she was babysitting. I also think it deserves. I think the parents should be held responsible. Subscribe, I'd like to show respect for Kira. Imagine sitting at home. That is what happened to this poor girl, so let's take a look.
We first have Brittany SpongeBob saying, did you know that in 2012, a girl was filming a YouTube video of her styling her hair when the roof burst into flames and she did not survive. So the girl in question here was a 12-year-old by the name of Linda Rogers who lived in Dallas. And the video in question was a time-lapse of her doing her hair getting ready for a cheerleading competition. When all of a sudden a spark goes off and the entire room pretty much just bursts into flames and the screen goes black. And the reason that this more than likely happened was there was a natural gas leak going on in the home, which basically meant that any open flame was going to set it off, and it was just a ticking time bomb. This incident also happened back in 2018, but Linda, of course, was not the person who posted it. Her family actually made the choice to do so, more than likely for educational purposes.
This is so sad. Imagine just recording yourself doing makeup or something, and then your house randomly explodes, and she couldn't even see it coming because the gas is invisible. I found real footage of this, so let's take a look.
Good morning, guys. It is 6:02 a.m.
Newly released video showed 12-year-old Linda Rogers getting ready for a cheerleading competition on the morning of February 23rd, 2018. In a time-lapse video, she's doing her hair when you see a spark. Her family's lawyer says the spark was a house filling up with natural gas and exploding. The Dallas Fire Department says 2 other homes caught fire on the same block where Linda lived. Those also burned on gas.
I can't believe this invisible gas container. That is so sad. And clouds, why were her parents not home? They could have protected her. The good thing is that this is super rare, so we should be safe from this clouds.
Do you know the sport hockey? It is basically ice skating and soccer combined. However, a boy was recently ended due to the This gets disturbing, so let's take a look.
As teenagers, during a high school hockey game. On January 6, 2022, 16-year-old Teddy Ballcline took to the ice for a junior varsity match. Teddy, a sophomore full of promise and passion for his sport, glided across the rink when he took a fall during the second period. As he lay on the ice, another player, eyeing the stop in time, collided with him. In a horrifying instant, the other player's skating blade sliced into Teddy's neck with surgical precision, severing vital arteries. The scene turned nightmarish. Coaches, medics, and teammates rushed towards him as he walked across the white ice. But the injury was too severe. He was rushed to the hospital, but there was nothing they could do. Teddy moved.
I think I would keep my pants if I saw them. And the worst part is that Teddy didn't have a cold ice rink. I wish Teddy wore something on his neck to protect himself, that way he could be alive. But clouds, these next incidents made me mad, so watch until the end. Do you like roller coasters? In this story, a kid actually fell off one.
And was not alive.
This is super disturbing, so let's take a look.
These are the roller coaster failures caught in history, and the final one will break your heart. Number 3, Tyre Sampson. 14-year-old Tyre Sampson was too heavy for the Orlando freefall ride, but staff let him ride anyway. His safety harness didn't lock right, yet the ride still started. When it dropped from 430 feet, Tyre slipped out of his seat and fell to his death.
Clouds, this is terrifying. I was digging on the dark web and found it. However, I will warn because it is very scary. Clouds, this video actually made me cry. You can hear the sound and people screaming. That is so sad. Clouds, please be careful about which roller coasters you go on. Do you like rock climbing? Well, this kid was rock climbing when someone threw a rock. This is super disturbing. Let's take a look.
They decided to throw rocks for fun, sending them tumbling down the cliff. But what they didn't realize was that an experienced climber was climbing below. He was nearing the top when one of the rocks, about the size of a bowling ball, struck him directly on the head. His climbing partner helplessly tried to save him, but there was nothing he could do. The hiker who threw the rock later confessed that despite the tragic mistake, charges were filed.
Clouds, I can't believe the person throwing rocks did not get in trouble. I did some searching and found a very similar photo of someone falling off a cliff like this. Here it is. Clouds, this is so scary. Imagine just climbing and your rope snaps. Luckily, this person lived, but the other poor boy didn't. So comment rest in peace. Being home alone is so much fun. Getting to eat as much food as you want and play video games. But sometimes it can be super disturbing. This story gets super creepy, so watch it till the end.
It was Christmas Eve, and 11-year-old Juliet was decorating the tree. It was getting late, and her mother called her and said she would be home from work a bit late tonight. Juliet said okay, and continued decorating the tree until she was finished. She relaxed for a bit and stared out of the 6th-floor apartment window at the skyline of the city when suddenly she began to hear scratching at her front door. She then went up to the door and listened, and looked through the peephole and saw a man dressed as Santa.
Clouds, the first red flag was Santa being at the door. Everyone knows that Santa comes through the chimney, and if you don't have a chimney, he teleports into the house. So this is probably a creepy guy trying to break in.
She knew this wasn't Santa and said, "My mom's not home. Can you please leave?" He then screamed, "It's Santa, Juliet. Give him the fruit-looking cookies." Juliet's stomach dropped. She was terrified. How did he know her name? Suddenly, the man came running back down the hallway with an axe in his hand and began striking the door with it until it broke. The man hid in a closet. The man entered the apartment and began saying, "Juliet, my pretty, where are you?"
I am so scared to see people, but Clouds, this is where it gets really disturbing, so I hope she is okay.
He then opened a closet door, and suddenly Juliet jumped at it and stabbed him in the eye with his own hand. The man screamed and yanked him from his eye, grabbed Juliet and held her on the ground. He would whisper in her ear, "You can scream and beg for your life, but naughty girls get the axe and nice girls get the knife." Juliet's mother returned home a little after midnight and saw her door hacked to pieces. She ran inside to make sure her daughter was okay. She looked around and began screaming. She was decorated with Juliet's ornaments, and her head was perched at the top like a star.
Oh my goodness, that is so shocking. I can't believe somebody would be so evil to do that to a little girl for no reason. Clouds, this video can teach us to always lock our doors and call the cops if a stranger ever tries to get in. There is a lot of strange foods in baby, but in this video, this kid
Actually made a slug.
which did horrifying things to her. Let's take a look.
A teenager ate a live slug on a dare with his friends in 2010. The next day, he was dizzy, nauseous, and felt a weird pain in his leg. Doctors discovered that he had contracted a rare parasite. There was no treatment, and usually the body would just get rid of it by itself. This larva got into the teen's brain through his bloodstream, causing him to fall into a coma for over 400 days. When he finally woke up, he had severe brain damage and could only control his eyelids and breathing. He spent the next 8 years completely paralyzed until he passed away from respiratory failure in 2018.
Clouds, I feel sad for this kid, but why would he even eat a slug? They are one of the nastiest, slimy things ever. Because of this, the poor boy was in a coma for 8 years and lost his life, subscribed to stay away from things like this clown. All of us need drinking hot drinks, but in this incident, a girl was dared to drink boiling water.
And it ended up unbelieving her.
This gets disturbing, so let's check it out.
The boiling water incident. On March 22nd, 2017, in Florida, 8-year-old Kiari Pope was at a sleepover with her cousin and friends. The children decided to play Truth or Dare. The game started innocently enough. Then, someone dared Kiari to drink boiling water from a straw. The other children thought it would be funny to see if she would actually do it. Kiari accepted the dare. She put the straw to her lips and drank the scalding liquid. Immediately, she began screaming in agony. The boiling water in her mouth and throat and lungs. She collapsed.
This little girl's friends are so cruel. Imagine your friends making you do something that would unalive you. That is so sad. Let's keep watching.
The adults rushed her to the hospital. Doctors discovered she had suffered severe internal burns to her throat and respiratory system. Kiari was placed in intensive care. She underwent multiple surgeries. For months, she lived with severe complications from the burns. Her airway was damaged. She struggled to breathe. The internal injuries were catastrophic. Eventually, 4 months later, she died of injuries sustained from drinking the boiling water. The case shocked the nation. Parents were horrified that such a simple dare could result in death. Warning messages spread across social media about the deadly risks of dares among children. The children who had dared her to drink the boiling water were left traumatized by what had happened. Kiari Pope was just 8 years old.
This is so sad to hear. A little girl's life was lost just because of trend. Cloud, please don't do random trends on the internet. We all love eating birthday cake, but in this story, this girl's birthday cake was poisoned. This gets crazy, so keep on watching.
As you guys heard, there were no sound effects for this video, so of course, there's not going to be a happy ending. This video in and of itself seems pretty innocuous. This girl right here is eating a birthday cake. She's smiling, obviously happy, but a very short period of time after this video was taken at her birthday, she would no longer be alive. This is an incident that recently happened, and the smiling girl in the photo behind me was 10-year-old Bonnie, and it was her birthday. And for her birthday, her family had ordered a cake. However, unbeknownst to them, this cake contains some sort of pathogen that causes food poisoning. A short period of time after eating the cake, Bonvi became very ill, was throwing up, reporting dryness in her mouth, and her other family members were also experiencing similar symptoms. Bonvi's condition worsened overnight. After waking up, she was rushed to a hospital, but was unfortunately pronounced deceased.
That is so sad. So it seems like whoever was making this cake was very evil, as this cake had poison in it, which ended up ending her life. I am glad that her family lived, but I feel sad for the poor girl. But all this talk about cake is making me think of working out. Have you ever ran so much you felt you almost died? Because that is exactly what happened to this poor boy. This situation is very disturbing. So let's take a look.
This is horrible. An 8-year-old boy in a California middle school has just collapsed and died during PE class. The boy's outraged aunt said that he was being forced to run laps in 90-degree heat for wearing the wrong gym clothes. She said that Joshua started to feel ill and began reaching out to the teacher, saying that he needed some water and that he couldn't breathe. She continued saying that when his teachers would pay attention, he started to try and tell the other kids. Regardless, his condition became more dire and he passed out on the field at around 11 a.m. Emergency services quickly arrived on the scene, but he was soon pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. His official cause of death is not yet being confirmed, but an autopsy is being carried out to get to the bottom of it. So, of course, as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
This is so horrible. I can't believe a teacher can be
that week. Just because he didn't bring his gym clothes, I hope that this teacher was fired. That way she can't hurt any other students. Don't forget to like and subscribe by Bike Clouds.
Cave incidents in the world. Cave incidents in the world.
Nutty Cave. John Jones, a young 26-year-old man, decided to explore the Nutty Putty Cave in the Utah desert near Salt Lake City. This wasn't his first caving experience, as he and his brother Josh used to explore caves around Utah. Even though it was the first time he would have gone into the Nutty Putty Cave specifically, the cave was considered beginner-friendly, as it was well-mapped, and the first main parts were accessible to everyone, such as names, the big slide. There were also some harder areas for more experienced cavers, like the birth canal, which was an incredibly tight passage. John wasn't going alone. He went with a group of 11, including family and friends. The cave was closed off at the time because some cavers had previously gotten stuck, but it was reopened and accessible only to those with a specific permit. Josh managed to get one, and on November 24th, 2009, they went in. Everyone stayed in the beginner-friendly areas, but John and Josh quickly got bored and started looking for the harder tunnels they had heard about. They knew about the birth canal, one of the tightest passages in the cave, which, after the narrowest part, had a room where they could stand up and turn around and head back. They ventured into the narrow passages of the cave, and at one point, they reached an area called the corkscrew, named that way because of how hard it was to get through. It was after the corkscrew that cavers would normally turn around, but 5 years before, an accident had happened in that exact spot. A 16-year-old boy named Brock Clark got stuck there, even though he was just 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighed only 140 pounds. He had to wait a whole 14 hours before getting free. John, however, was 6 feet tall and weighed 200 pounds, so he clearly knew he couldn't turn around to go back in that specific part of the tunnel. In a space only 12 inches high, he squeezed his stomach in and kept moving forward until he got to a point where he was headfirst in a downward angle. It looked like there was an area ahead where he could finally turn around, so he kept going in. But what he didn't know was that beyond that ledge, the area was uncharted. No one had been there before him. He still thought he was in some part of the birth canal, and since he knew many cavers felt stuck just like he was, but eventually found a place to turn around, he continued on. After a while, however, he started sliding toward the bottom of the tunnel, almost doing a handstand to hold on and try to push himself back up. He immediately yelled to his brother to stop, and they started this.
All the great incidents in the world.
These are three of the weirdest steps in history. 1. In the 12th century, Henry II of Germany convened a large meeting of nobles to settle a land dispute. Unfortunately, the wooden beams supporting the meeting room had rotted away, and it collapsed, dumping most of the assembly onto the floor below, which then also gave way, plunging the assembled nobles into an underground cesspit. In total, 60 people are said to have died, many of them drowning in human excrement. Horrible way to go, and they didn't even manage to settle that land dispute. Time 1184 AD. Cause of death, expiring in human waste. 2. Tiberius Claudius Drusus, son of Emperor Claudius, was in a good mood and so decided to chuck his pear up the air and catch it in his mouth. All fun and games until the young man began choking on the pear and died. It serves as a tiny reminder to always know your limits when consuming fresh fruit whole. Time 2018. Cause of death, fruity trick gone awry. 3. Martin the Barragan was suffering from indigestion when his favourite jester, Laura, entered the room. When asked where he had been, the jester replied, "Out of the next vineyard. But I saw a deer hanging by a tail from a tree, as if someone had so punished him for stealing figs." Now, this was top drawer stuff for Laura, prompting the king to die from barking. Time 1410 AD. Cause of death? I don't know yet, Peter, I guess. These are three of the weirdest deaths in history. 1. In the 12th century, से मारे गए। नंबर 1 काइली 2013 में नई अमेरिका के उताई स्टेट में मौजूद इस कोरोना आर्ट्स पर लोग स्वीकारना चाहते थे कि उस वक्त ये जगह काफी पॉपुलर थी, लेकिन उन्हें अंदाजा भी नहीं था क्योंकि रस्सी ब्रिज से काफी बड़ी थी। क्या जैसे ही काइली चलती वो 140 km की रफ्तार से डायरेक्टली जमीन पर जा टकराए और पलक झपकते ही उनकी मौत हो गई। रवि सुब्रमण्यम 2015 में मुंबई एयरपोर्ट पर एक ऐसा हादसा हुआ था जिसने सबकी रूह कमा ली थी। दरअसल रवि जो कि एक इंजीनियर थे, वो एक दिन जब प्लेन की जांच कर रहे थे, वो पायलट ने गलती से प्लेन का इंजन बिना सिग्नल के ही स्टार्ट कर दिया। पास में खड़े रवि एक झटके में इंजन के अंदर चले गए। 2013 में गूगल एप्लोस नामक ये शख्स एक इंडस्ट्री में मीट ग्राइंडर को साफ करने का काम कर रहे थे, लेकिन उस दिन मीट ग्राइंडर में कुछ खराबी थी। फिर क्या, जैसे ही वो मीट ग्राइंडर का ऊपरी हिस्सा साफ करने गए तो ग्राइंडर अचानक से चालू हो गया और वो मशीन के अंदर गिर गए। ऐसे लोग जो बहुत ही अजीब।
These were the craziest death penalties in history. So up until the 18th century, India would execute rebels or thieves by having a trained elephant delimb them before stomping on their head or body. Similarly, Incas in Peru would execute criminals by llama stampedes as part of ceremonious executions. France would utilize the brazen bull, in which they burned criminals alive inside of a bronze bull statue, while the Chinese would practice lynching or death by 1,000 cuts, in which they would slowly slice the flesh of somebody until the lint of blood loss or shock. This was actually done into the 1900s, in fact. Japan used to boil criminals alive in water or oil, especially Christians who refused to renounce their faith. Ivan the Terrible would impale victims on a sharpened stake, and it would take them sometimes days to die. It was meant to terrorize enemies to get information and to send messages. Scourger would execute victims by placing them in buildings and then intentionally collapsing the buildings with stones, crushing them. But finally, in ancient purges, where the worst punishment in history would be called escapism, which is where victims would lie in a canoe, force-fed milk, and then smeared with honey and left in a swamp. Insects at this point would slowly eat them alive, but it would take sometimes weeks until they ultimately died. That's crazy. These were the craziest death penalties in history.
지금 크리스찬 저렇게도 돈이 많아요. 뭔가
Have y'all ever had that one classmate who's always yelling in class, and then your teacher gets tired of it? I remember my teacher having a huge crash out at this one kid, so bad that her face literally went red like a tomato. At least that teacher was usually pretty normal, like most others. But some teachers... Hey guys, that's why today we'll be going over some of the worst incidents caused by teachers. We've got everything from teachers murdering their students' parents to another one sending on a kindergarten kid until they suffocated to death. So if y'all think your teacher isn't like these, then make sure you like and subscribe. You guys get grades yet? I've had a bunch of times where I just thought the teacher didn't like me or something, so they gave me a bad grade. Usually it's not that they hate you. It's because they thought you cheated. This student failed her art assignment because the teacher thought it was stolen. But y'all, this student got her revenge, and in the funniest way possible. Take a look.
Sometimes teachers suck. The person that shared this story said that when she was in high school, she was one of the best art students in this school. Well, one of the assignments was that they had designed something on the computer and emailed it to the teacher. Well, one day in a different class, she was called down to the office.
Kayla Anderson, please come to the principal's office.
In the office was her principal, Kayla, have a seat, and her art teacher.
Hi, Kayla. Hi, what's going on? Well, I got your homework, the emails, the graphic design project. Something was off, so I ran it in a reverse Google search.
Yes, and don't even try to deny this. We caught you red-handed.
What? That's impossible. I made that myself.
Oh, did you?
Well, how come I found it on a random artist website? What is a website? Not like it matters. Make a website. Okay, whatever. You plagiarized your project from Kayla Johnson Art. Yeah, that's my website.
Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. That teacher got what she deserved. Like, how are you gonna fail someone when they literally made that from scratch? Like, how did they not see the link as well? You'd think that the students stood their ground. Hey guys, that's why, even though many teachers are smart, they're not always...
You tie the final knot on the bandage. The golden retriever wags his tail and you can't help but smile. You hand Mrs. Higgins the leash. She thanks you for staying late, hands you a check, and leads the dog out into the rainy night. You lock the front door and you flip the sign to close. It's been a long shift, 12 hours on your feet. A fist slams against the glass. You look up. A man stands at your door. He's soaked, shivered, wild-eyed. He isn't holding a leash. He's holding your friend. The friend is slumped over his shoulder, one arm dangling limp, the other pressing a red towel against his stomach. The towel is soaked through. You can see it dripping onto the sidewalk, mixing with the rain. You wave him away, and you point to the hospital down the street. It's only 4 blocks away. They have real doctors there. You're just a veterinarian. They have real equipment and real medicine. The man shakes his head. He pulls a pistol from his jacket and he taps it against the glass. You unlock the door. They stumble inside, and suddenly your quiet clinic is in chaos. Mud on the tile, water pooling by the door, and blood. Blood on your clean floor, leaving a trail from the entrance to the exam table. The gunman kicks the door shut while you help hoist the injured man onto the table. It's a bullet. You tell him that you fixed broken paws. You give him baby shots. You reward ticks and trim tails who tell old ladies their cats need to lose weight. You don't do this. You never done this. The gunman doesn't care. Fix him. That's all he says. But you understand everything those words mean. Fix him or join. You look at the wound. Then you look at your cabinets. You don't have human medicine. You don't have the right tools. You don't have training for this. But you have to try. You grab a tranquilizer meant for horses. It's strong enough to drop a 1,000-pound animal in 30 seconds. You do the math in your head calculating the dose for a man. You pray you don't stop his heart. You pray God remembers you. You inject the line. The man groans. His eyes roll back. His body goes slack against the table. He's under. You have maybe 20 minutes before he starts to wake up. You work fast. You clean the wound. You bind the damage. And you stitch him up with heavy blue nylon, the same you use on Great Danes and German Shepherds. It will leave a jagged scar. But he's alive. The gunman watches the whole time. He doesn't speak. He doesn't move. He just watches. When you tie the final knot, he steps forward. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a thick envelope, then tosses it onto the patient's chest. Keep your mouth shut, he says. Buy yourself something nice. He carries the man out the back door. You don't help them. You just stand there, hand shaking, watching them disappear into the alley behind your clinic. The door swings shut. You're alone. You pick up the envelope. You open it. You count the bills inside. $5,000. Cash. You don't know what to do. Part of you wants to call the police, tell them everything. Show them the blood on your floor and the money in your hands and let them handle it from here. But the clinic hasn't been doing well lately. The bills are piling up. The rent is late. You're trying to save for your daughter's college fund, and every month you fall a little further behind. And these guys don't look like they forget a face. You saw the gunman's eyes, cool, calculated. The kind of eyes that remember the TV playing some old movie you've seen 100 times.
Can you do Minecraft without breaking any of the rules of Islam? Before we answer this question, we have to establish a couple of things. First, what are the rules of Islam? And second, which ones actually apply to Minecraft? From my research, the rules of what you can and cannot do in Islam come from two main sources. The Sharia law, which comes from the holy text of Islam, the Quran, and the 5 pillars of Islam. The 5 pillars are the foundation of the faith, so we need to make sure we follow these in Minecraft. The pillars are Shahada, the declaration of faith, Salat, the daily prayer, Zakat, charitable giving, Song, fasting during the month of Ramadan, and Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. Of these 5, there are really only 3 that we can follow in the way in Minecraft. Let's start with the easiest one, Shahada, the declaration of faith. In order to fulfill this pillar, followers of Islam are expected to utter this phrase: there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is Allah's prophet. So let's start up a new world and type these words in the chat to start off Allah. Okay, boom. I declared my faith and checked off 1 of the pillars. After that first rule was easy, but just wait a little bit and see what else is in store for me. Let's get some more, shall we? 8 wood. Okay, we just drew out 4. Okay, wait a second. Why would we draw out half of our wood? Let me introduce you to the second pillar that we have to follow, Zakat, or charitable giving. In the real world, Muslims who follow this pillar donate a fraction of their money to charity. In Minecraft, since money is kind of non-existent, I'm going to say that we'll have to donate half of all the resources that I've obtained. So if I get 2 blaze rods, I can donate 1. If I get 20 diamonds, I can donate 10, and so on. I know that this is harder than what Muslims do in real life, but I want this to be a challenge, so I think this would be pretty fun. Okay, so like once we've donated these logs, we can use however much of the wood we want and whatever wood we want. We just have to donate like the base amount of resources. Okay.
Ah, eu posso ser super bom. Pai, vamos.
मजाक में भी बुरा बोल देते हो। अल्लाह के सामने हर लफ्ज का हिसाब होगा। अभी से अपनी जुबान को संभालो। हराम चीजें देखकर थक गई। कभी कुरान पढ़कर मुझे सुकून दे तुम्हें पैर अगर पीछे एक बार मुझे मस्जिद की तरफ भी चला लो। लड़की के प्यार में लोग मुझे तोड़ देते हैं, लेकिन अल्लाह के प्यार में मैं कभी नहीं थकता। अल्लाह से मोहब्बत ही मुझे सुकून देती है। मैं जुबान मजाक में भी बुरा बोल देते हो। अल्लाह के सामने हर लफ्ज का हिसाब होगा। अभी से अपनी जुबान को संभालो। हराम चीजें देखकर थक गई।
Is every crime and punishment from ancient Egypt to one great Roman? This was considered the mother of all crimes, especially if the two points of royalty. Punishment included among the questions a mistake on having your hands cut off so you couldn't commit the crime again. 2. Murdering a family member. This would be tied to the decay body of the victim for 3 days where you hadn't got things about what you'd done. 3. Adultery. Committing adultery with a married woman was seen as a religious crime against her husband. To let them know the shameful act, your nose would be cut off so everyone could see to keep their wives far away from you. 4. That if you stole from public property, you're expecting to pay back 180 times the value you stole and subject yourself to a public beating. And also publicly swear an oath to be true to the crocodiles if you did it again. In some cases, your nose will be cut off too. 5. False testimony. You included amputation and death by drowning. This is the big crime and punishment from ancient Egypt. One, great rowing. This was considered the mother of all crimes, especially if the two belonged to royalty. Punishment included abundant rations. Mistake and having your hands cut off so you could commit the crime again. Two, murdering a family member. This would be tied to the decayed body of the victim for 3 days when you had a complete hole. Three, adultery. Committing adultery with a married woman was seen as a religious crime against her husband. Ten, of your shameful act, your nose would be cut off so everyone could see to keep their wives far away from you. Four, theft. If you stole from public property, you're expected to pay back 180 times the value you stole and subject yourself to a public meeting. You'd also publicly swear an oath to be true to the crocodiles if you did it again. In some cases, your nose would be cut off too. Five, false testimony. Being accused of a crime was a surefire way to ruin your reputation. If a witness was caught lying, they would suffer a terrible punishment that included amputation and death by drowning. Is it a big crime and punishment from ancient Egypt?
Countries. So how would you react if Saudi Arabia disappeared from the world? Oh, are you crazy? That's one of the 2 holiest cities in Islam are. Hey, I thought you'd be happy since they're your rival. Shut up! I'd be furious if that ever happened. I know some of you might not like me, but if you're with me on this, smash that like button.
Yeah, I agree with you. You are. Besides respecting people's beliefs, I'd also be being a major oil supplier.
Despite our differences, they're a wonderful country. It would be truly heartbreaking if this happened. Oh my gosh, now I feel really guilty.
You should apologize to every Muslim country. We almost lost the Kaaba, the direction Muslims face when they pray.
Brother, don't forget, if Mecca and Medina were gone, there wouldn't be any safe place left from the Dajjal. Countries. So how would you react if Saudi Arabia...
Is everywhere crime and punishment from the Aztec Empire? One, Canada. The Aztecs didn't have Christians. Murderers, however, would be burnt in a bonfire until they were nearly dead. Then they'd have their stomach mark off their chest. Two, drunkenness. Having too many to drink was all your hair cut off and your house demolished. However, elders over 70 were permitted to consume as much alcohol as they wished without consequence. Three, prisoners of war. Captured warriors would be tied in a standing position between 2 posts, and white smoke would be painted onto the roof where the heart was. Firing squad of archers would then shoot arrows into every part of the body except for the head and arm, which they saved until lasted for theft. If you stole something in the Aztec era, you would simply become a slave to the person who stole from it. Simple. Five, disobedience. Children who didn't do their chores would be dangled over a smoky fire of junipeppers who would just put the captors in those. Six, adultery. Cheating on your partner was deemed a crime against the state, and if found guilty, you'd be strangled or stoned within optics if you died. Is everywhere crime and punishment from the Aztec Empire? One, Canada. The Aztecs didn't have Christians and murder.
Mama, मैं practice करी. क्योंकि ये मर गया क्योंकि इसका पापा ने इसको तुम्हारा खोबरा इसका उनका या थोड़ा पूरा खोबरा उनका या थोड़ा रहा कोई चीज I am here. Sleep. পারফেক্ট কথা বলেছি ভাই ভালো লাগবেই I want to go in the ground. আমি বলেছি তুই যে বন্ধুদের ঝগড়া লেগে গেছে ভাইয়া keychain got it. Keychain. Wait a minute. अरे भैया वहाँ गड़बड़ हो गया। experiment that you want to do. So 13 minus 0, 13 is 13, 8 are 1, 13, 8 are 104, 13 is 117, 13 is 130. Working on the 14, working to the 28, working 3 is a 42, working 4 the 56, 14 by the 70, working 6 are 84, 14, 7 are 98, 14, 8 is 112, 14, 9 is 100, 6, 14, 10 is 140. Nanti dikumpul.
যে ব্যক্তিকে আপনি কল করছেন তিনি এখন উত্তর দিতে Halo.
Halo.
Mama bari chole. Halo. Halo.
কোথায়
Oh, তোমার বাড়ি।
আম্মা আসলো হ্যালো জান
হ্যাঁ
বলছো না কেন?
না না বলছিলাম ভাত টাত খেয়েছো?
খেলাম, নামাজ পড়ছিলাম।
উম,
তুমি কি করছো?
ও টেবিল মুখস্থ করছিলাম। পড়া
আম্মা
মুখস্থ।
আসলো?
হ্যাঁ এসছে
হ্যাঁ,
এসছে।
আর বাবা কি করছে?
সব ঘুমিয়ে আসি।
ঘুমিয়ে আছে এখনো?
হুম।
আর উঠবে না তুমি?
না
অনলাইনে ক্লাস চালু করানো সামসগুলো রেখে দেবেন শাশুড়ি নন আর বিভিন্ন ব্যবস্থা সামাজিক বলে পাশে সেন্ড করে দিয়ে ছোটবেলা আর বেটিকে উঠার ছোটবেলা আমি বলে অফ করা আসলে সেগুলো উঠাচ্ছিল এগুলো ওই মেয়ে ভালো না বাজে মেয়ে না করা ওরা করছে ওখানে করবি করে এবার আমি তখন ওর ক্যামেরা ধরে বলতেছি কর কত নিন্দা করবো একটা নন তো বাড়িতে মানুষের শান্তি করতে আছে আর নন এসে আগুন লাগাতে আর 12 তারিখ তো 1 হাজার প্যাট ভরে নি আর কয়টা ভাতার ছেলে এসে ওই জন্য বলছে এটা ভাতার আমার কাছে শুধু না এত ভালো চরিত্র ওই জন্য অন্যের নামে নিন্দা করে রয়েছে আর আমার শাশুড়িটা আরো গুণধর বলে আমি হক করে আছি না আর শিখে বসাবে না হয়নি তাহলে কত ঝগড়া তোর ভাতার মতন 14টা মাকে পিছনে ছুটে 14 ভাতারি তুই যেমন 14 ভাতারি তোর ভাতারও তেমন 14 ভাতারি মুখ বাজে করছে ওকে কান করে না আমি তুই কেন কেমন কান কেমন তুই আমার কান করবি আমার কান কেমন কে রাখবি আমার শাশুড়িটা বড় আপনি তো হলো সব থেকে বাজে কারণ বেটিকে নিয়ে কাহিনী করতে বসেন যে বউকে পুলিশ করা হয়েছে এই থাকলেই হলো যে না একবারে গোল একবারে না কি নন শাশুড়ি বহু একবারে গোল করে বসেছে তুমি একদম কথা বলতে আসবে না আমি মনে তো হচ্ছে সব রেকর্ডিং করেছে এবার দেখিস তোরা দুনিয়া দেখবে তোরা ব্যবহার করবি দুনিয়া দেখবে আর তোরা এবার দিতে পারলে হলো তোরা যেটা আমার সাথে করেছিস ওটা সবার সামনে করবো তোরা না ভয় করবো না তোরা সহ্য করতে পারলে হলো সহ্য ক্ষমতা বাড়িয়ে দিস কারণ তোরা যখন এরকম আমি বাড়িতে আসি না তার মানে কত নিন্দা করছিস কারণ তো নাই ভাত রান্না মিশে কাহিনী করতে বসে ওটাই তো কোনো চর্চা করা থেকে মানুষ ভাই ভাইয়ের বাজারে বাড়ি আছে শান্তি শান্তি দেখার জন্য, ভালো দেখার জন্য, আর এসে তো আগুন লেগে দিচ্ছে। আমি যেন যে আমাকে প্যান্ডেল লেগেছিল যে চলো সব তুই নামে কেস করবো, তখন আমি আমার করতে লেগেছি, আমি করতে লেগেছি। আমি করতেছি রেকর্ডিং ইউটিউব আর ফেসবুকে ছেড়ে দেবো, দেখ করবে করবে গান করে দেখ হ্যাঁ
ডিম এনেছে, ডিম দিয়েছে
कहानी को जैसे एक बार और कैसे और कहानी आना तो जाना और ना तो जैसे तो रेकॉर्डिंग करते तो भावे है ना, तो भावे मुझको उसमें जीवन है उनको मोरे जाया हम का तो खरा है रास्ता माना है तो चीज जीवन है बाजे में और हजार मिनट लगे যাব और দিকে ঘুরে দেখতে যাব এরকম করছে না ওই বেশ সাইডটা 12 তারিখটা উত্তরে একটা কথা হয়নি আর আরেকটা কথা এসছে তো বলছি যে ক্লিয়ার শুনে না পটপটানি করতো কে এবার বাদিনে দুনিয়া দেখতে গেছে কেমন মাকে সামলাতে পারিস না পরের মাকে কাছে কে বলেছি যে আমার মাতারা আমার কাছে শুধু না তাদের মায়ের কাছে শুতে গেছে তুই তোমার লুচ্চা তোর মায়ের না তেমন তেমন লুচ্চা এখানে মা ভাই আর মা বহিন রাগিনা দিয়ে কাহানি করাচ্ছিস খালি নাটক দিচ্ছিস খালি নাটক ছুটে দিল যখন তোর গায়ের বর্তা ভাঙছিল সিনি তখন তোর ভাই তখন তোর ভাইয়ের বউ ভালো আর তোর মা দিয়ে দিয়েছে তখন তোর ভাই আর ভাইয়ের বউ খুব খারাপ না বুঝলা চলা ওই যখন এসছে তখন সব কিছু হয়ে যায় আর মনে হচ্ছে আমি আটলাই তো বই নেবে কেচার 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 করছে খালি চুপ করে আছিল আমার শাশুড়ি জানে যে আমি করেছি আর শুনে নিয়েছে চুপ করে আছিল খালি চুপ করতে বলছে এখন তো চুপ করতে বলি কারণ কাহানি করে মন শান্তি হয়ে গেছে তো ধীরে ধীরে ঘটনার ঘরের পিছে তেল লাগিয়ে মানুষ করেছিল যে ওই ঘটনা করছে আমার বাপ মায়ের কথা খবরদার বলবে না অনেক কথা বলেছে শুনেছি খবরদার বলবে না ওর বাপ মা মায়া আছে না আমাকে বাপ মাকে মানুষ করেনি আমাদের কিসের মায়া ওই জন্য ওরা মা বাটা ছিঁড়তে চলে এসছে ঝগড়া করতেছি না কাজ করতেছি কেমন করে পানি করতে না মা কেন করবে আর তোর নানি কেন বলে আর তুই দিবেন মানুষ ঘরে মিলে থাক না থাক না ওরা এখন কি হয়েছে না সেমনিকে উল্টা পাল্টা কইছে আমার শাশুড়ি গেল বলে যে কয়েছে বলে যে 10 দিন বেটির সাথে না কথা বলছিল কেমন বলবে আমার ভাই এবার আমি ওকে মাকে কইছি যে এটা কথা বলেছে আমি তো ছিলাম ওকে বলেনি কেমন আপনি মিথ্যা কথা বলেছেন বেটিকে খালি কান ভাঙানো কাজ বসে বসে তখন আর কিছু পায় না কিছু পায় না তোমাকে বলেনি যে তো তুমি বললে না আমাকে হ্যাঁ তোর বেটিকে তুই সুধার পরের বেটিকে বলছিস যে তুই গেলো ভালো হয়ে থাকার জন্য আমাকে ভালোবাসি যা তুই করবা ওই তোর বেটিকে সুধার তুই মিথ্যা কথা বলছিস উঠেনি বড়রা ফোন করেছি কথা শুনে মন ভালো রে আমি কেন কাজে আমি করে কি করবো কথা কেন শুনবো আমি তোর তোর ভাই ডেকেছে তোরা কি কর মা ও মা কিছু করে মার সাথে মিলেছে আমার হয়ে গেছে আমি আর কি আমার বই না বাড়ি করবো না মায়ের সাথে কথা বলতে হবে। না এবার ওই দিলে তো চলে যাবে কাছে আমার আমার কাছে রয়েছে না আমাকে ওইটা না আর ওর বই আর ওর ভাইকে আমি চিনি না ওর মা আগে ঝগড়া করবে মারবে বকবে মাকে দিবে তাও আমি কিছু করবো ওর বোন আর ভাইকে চিনি না আত্মীয়তা দরকার নেই যে আত্মীয়তা এসে আমার আগুন লাগে সে আত্মীয়তা কোনো দরকার নেই ফোন করে ওই না দেখলাম না আমরা কথা বলতে বাড়ি থেকে আমি যা করবো তো বাড়িটা মুক্তি যাবে বাইরে করে আমি কথা বলবো ও না
তুই কথা বলে আসতে পারছিস না আজকে সব বিদ্যুৎ হয়েছে আজকে সব সারা জীবনের মতো বিদ্যুৎ হয়েছে জিন্দগিতে মাথা লাগাতে হবে
না আমি তো ওর মায়ের কথা শুনে অবাক বলি আমাকে তো কইস নেই যে আমি বলে মুখ খুলিয়ে আছে ওই দিন বলে আর ওই রঞ্জিত বেটিটাকে উঠিয়ে বলে আমাকে বসতে দিয়েছিল মুখ বাজে একটু কোনো কথা কইলেই ওরা মুখ খুলে দিলে আমি ওকে ডাকে নিয়ে দিলে মুখ খুলে গেছিল আমি ওকে ডাকি নেব দিতেছে আমি আপনি রাখতে যাবো ওর সাথে বুঝবো না দেখবো না ওর কথা আমাকে বুঝে নিয়েছে যে আমি কত ভালো মেয়ে আমি যে লাগছি তাহলে আমার কথাকে মনে হয় মনে দিয়ে তোর বানিয়ে নিয়েছিস ওই জন্য আমার থেকে তোকে ভালোবাসে মনে হয় বেশি
সবাই চিন্তা করো
কথাটা কেমন বলছে আগুন লাগে
হ্যাঁ
বুঝি না
স্বামী স্ত্রীতে আগুন লাগে গেছে
আমি যে তোর বাতারের মতন না যে তোর বাতার তোর কাছে শুতে না তুই বলছিস না তোর জ্বালা বেশি না তোর শরীরের জ্বালা বেশি মিটাই না বিকাতের মায়ের শরীরের জ্বালা মিটে গেছে
বললা
বলবো না তোমার ভাই কথা বলেছি তোর কেমন তোর মাকে গায়ের জ্বালা মিটাতে পারিস না তোর নিকাতের মায়ের গায়ের জ্বালা মিটিয়ে পারিস না তোর মাকে কে উস্কে দিচ্ছে একবারে সোজা করে দিল কি মনে করছিস চারজন মিলে কাহানি কত কাহানি চুকিয়ে দেবো মনে করছে আমরা চারজন ওই আকলাই সব ছিল ইতালি তোর মতন লুচ্চা না যে যাকে দেখবি তার সাথে ইতালি দিবে তোর মতন লুচ্চা না
না বলে দরকার ছিল খুব পাগল ছিল
তোমার ভাই তো মেন নাটক গুলো আর তোমার ভাই তো শুরু করছে তোমার ভাই তো বলছে যে তোর পেটকে উঠিয়ে বাঁধাচ্ছিলাম কেমনি ওই হপ করেছিল ওকে ডাকিনি ওই জন্য কথাটা কেমন
পাল্টালি কেমন ম্যাম করতেছিস এবার লাগবে আর কি বুঝে গেলি তোরা বই বইনে হলো থাকবি
ওই জন্য তো বললাম যে দেখো ওই ভাগ্নাকে বলে রোজ যে মানুষ করেছিল আর ওই ভাগ্নাই আমাকে আঙুল দেখে দেখে কথা বলছে তোমার ভাগ্না না বলতে আসবে না খবরদার বলতে আসবে না অনেক কথা শুনেছি আমার মা বাপকে টানবে না তোমার মা বলেছিল কেন তোমার মামা বলেছিল কেন ও তখন বড় মামার দিক থেকে বলতে খুব মজা লাগে আর ছোট মামার দিক থেকে বলতে গেলে তোমার মা বাবাকে টানবে না তোমার মামা বলতে আসছে কেন সব মানুষের যেমন খেতে আসে ঘুরতে আসে আসলে ঠিক থাকবে বাড়ির কথা শুনবে না তার তাহলে শুনবে না আর শুনতে গেলে সবারই শুনবে বুঝলামই পেয়েছো তুমি তো ভাগনা তো ভাগনা মনে হয় না তো খুব বড় বড়কে সম্মান দিতে আমি অত পাগল ভিডিও করেছি অত পাগল না আমি যেবার ডাক তুই কেমন তুই ডাক তোকে দুনিয়া দেখবে যে তুই 3 দিনে বাড়ি এসছিস আর আগুন লেগে দিচ্ছিস তার 3 দিনের আগে আগুন ছিল না আর তোর দাদা কেমন বললা যখন ওর মাটির মুখে মুখ ছিল রোজ যখন থানাতে যেতে গেছিল তখন ওর ভাই আর ওর ভাইয়ের বউ কাজ দিয়েছিল আর এখন ওর মাগি পেয়ে গেছে 12,000 এই জন্য 12,000 দেওয়া আরো হ্যাঁ কত চিল্লাচ্ছে তোর ভাই আমাকে চিল্লে লাভ নাই তোর মতন কুত্তা না যে সব মাগির গান দেখে বেড়াচ্ছি কটা মাগির গান মেরে বেরিয়েছিস তুই নিজেই জানিস আমি করবো আমি কটা জটা পারবো করবো কারণ যে তুই করবি তোর মাগি তোর গানের জ্বালা মিটাতে পারিস না কেন তোর মাগি বলছে কেন আমাকে কেমন তুই সামলাতে পারিস না তোর মাগি কেমন সামলাতে পারিস না ওই মাগিটা 4 মাসের ছেলে মাগিটার কথা বলছিল পায়ে পা ঘুরছিল কত খাচ্ছিল ওই যে তুই চলে ওইটা ভিডিও করেছিলিস কই দেখা তবে যে দেখছি তো আর আমার দেখার কি আছে তোর যে ভাতার সামনে আছে তোর ভাতার কেন মুখ থেকে বেরোয় না কথা যার গাড়ে গাড়ে পায়ে পায়ে ঘুরছিল আর ভাতা ছিল একটা কথা বলতে পারে না তখন তোমার ভাই অনেক হয়েছে যে কেউ কথা এখন নাই ভালো করে সবাই মিলে সাবধান খুব শুনেছি আর শুনবো না এবার তোরা সহ্য করার ক্ষমতা বাড়িয়ে দিস আর তখন দেখবি যেগুলো যেগুলো আমার সাথে করে দিস আমি সবাইকে বলবো। কারণ তোরা ঘরে বসে বসে নাটক করছিস তো, আমি মুখ বন্ধ করে কাজ দিতে আসি আর কাজলে আর যে সবার সাথে দুটো ভালো মন্দ এমনি গল্প করলে চলে যাই। তোদের মতো বাড়ির কাহিনী করি না, তাইলে মুখ খুলিয়ে বলতে পারি। আরে তোমার বইনকে উল্টা করে কথা লাগাইছে, তোমার বইনকে উল্টা করে লাগাইছে। তোমার মা তোমার মা কেমন আমার ভাই বলবে 10 দিন বেটির সঙ্গে না কথা বললে ঠিক হয়ে যাবে। এবার আমি বলছি যে আমি তো ছিলাম, আপনার ভাই তো বলেনি, আপনি বলেছেন, আপনার ছেলে বলেছে বলেন, তখন ওই একটা কথা বলে না তোমার মায়ের একটা কথা করে বেরো না কেন, কিসের জন্য? মা নামে তো আপনি কলঙ্ক, কারণ আপনি চান না যে আপনার ছেলে মেয়ে ভালো থাকুক। নাহলে এরকম একবার আমার দিকে গালে চুম্মা খেয়ে কথা একবার ওর দিকে এখন বড় না কতটুকু রেকর্ডিং হয়েছে আর মধ্যখানে অনেক কে করতেছে। এতগুলো কথা শুনলে কার মাথাটা ঠান্ডা থাকে? আমি উপরে চুপচাপ এসছি, ঘরকে নিচে রান্না সবাই ছিল, ওরাকে বললাম তোমরা ঘরটা ঝাড় দিছি তোমরা আসো। এবার আমি ঘর ঝাড় দিছি বেশ সুন্দর। তোমার বহিন বলছে হ্যাঁ এত বাজে মেয়ে, একবারে জঘন্য, কি ফুলা হয়তো থাইরয়েডের জন্য আছে, তোমার বহিন এটা বললে থাইরয়েডের জন্য হয়তো ফুলা আছে, তুমি বলেছো এটা কথা, লবণ খাও এ খাও, তো তোমার কেন বললে এটা বলা ঠিক হয়নি। আর সত্যি এত বাজে মেয়ে, একটা কথাকে কত রকম করে বলে, জঘন্য মেয়ে। তখন তোমার মা বলছে জানিস কিছু বলবো না বলবো মুখটা হপ করে থাকবে, এবারে ঘপ করে মিষ্টি মারছে, মুখ খুলিয়ে রেখেছে, এরকম করে বলছে। তুমি ওখানে কোনো কথা বলবো না, চুপচাপ থাকবো বলো। আমি ওর মতন মেয়ের সঙ্গে কথা বলতে যাবো, বড় কথাই বলছে ওর মতন মেয়ের সঙ্গে কথা বলতে যাবো, জীবনে ঘুরেও দেখবো না, ওকে ডাকতে যাবো, ওকে বসতে দিব, এরকম করছে। এবার আমি যখন ওখানে ক্যামেরাটা ধরে যাবে শুনছে, আমি এবার সোজাই ছেড়ে বলছি যে বল কত নিন্দা করবি কর, তোরা এবার আমি বললাম নিন্দা করা ভিডিও দিয়েছিলাম তো, এবার যত নিন্দা করবি কর, এবার তোদের ভিডিও তোরা দেখবি মজা কেমন লাগে দেখবি, হ্যাঁ কর এবার। তুই কেমন ভিডিও করছিস, কেমন ভিডিও করছিস, আমি যে করবো তুই কিছু করতে পারবি আমি ভিডিও করবো, এবার তুমিও দেখবে তোকে। একটা ভাতার ছেড়েছিস না 10টা ভাতার ছেড়েছিস, তোর ব্যবহারই করেছি। আর আমার দেখ আমার বাড়িতে ঝগড়া হলো ভালো হলো, আমি আমার একটা ভাতা দিয়ে আছি, আর তোর কেমন চরিত্র বাজে তুই এরকম করে তোর তোর আরেকটা ভাতার কাছে এসেছিস, তাও বলে তোর চুলকানি মিটে না, কত তোর চুলকানি।
বলো বাবা পরীক্ষা আছে কালকে, পরে বইটা বলো চলবো।
ওর মা যে জানে যে ওর বেটা কেমন লজ্জা, ওর মা তোমার মা খালি ছেড়ে ছেড়ে আমি কেন ছাড়বো, এখন মায় লাগছে, এখন লজ্জা লাগছে, দুনিয়া শুনুক না যে কেমন লজ্জা, এটা মানুষ করে রেখেছেন, দুনিয়া শুনুক যে কেমন লজ্জা। তো দুনিয়াতে যেমন ছাড়ছে হবে, আর ওই 10টা ছুটি ছুটে পড়লো দেখ হাত কেটে দেবো, 8টা ছুটি পিছিয়ে দুনিয়া ছুটে ছুটু। একটা বিয়ে করে ঘরে একটা বাইরে 6-7টা রাখবে, ওরকম বেটাও চাই না, ওরকম বেটিও চাই না। যারা নিঃসন্তান তারা কি করছে, ওইরকম বেটা জ্ঞান চাই না, চরিত্রহীন হতে পারে, কিন্তু এরকম লুচ্চা পাবো, চরিত্রহীন আলাদা, লুচ্চা আলাদা। লুচ্চা লুচ্চা ওই পান্ডুয়াতে যাওয়া আমার গায়ে গা ঘিসার চেষ্টা করেছিল, লুচ্চা বুঝতে পারছি যে হ্যাঁ কেমন লুচ্চা ছিল। আমার ভাতার যে আছে বুঝে নেবে, আমি তোর ভাতার যে আছে বুঝে নি, তো কে বলতে এসেছিল যে তোর কাছে শুতে না, তো বলতে এসেছিলি লজ্জা লাগে, তখন তোর ভাতার ছিল না, তখন তো ওই নামকে বলে কান টানলে মাথা আসবে, তো ওই মাথা করে এখন পিড়িতে গেছে, বলবো না আমার কাজ নিয়েছিলাম তখনও বলছিলাম যে কান টানলে মাথা আসে, আর বেটিকে বলতে ছেড়ে দিব, বেটিকে জেল কাটতে ছেড়ে দিব, এখন তো জেল কাটতে এসছে নাকি। ও তো শুনছে তো উঠকে আছে ওর সামনে কোনো ওর সামনে কোনো ও বলো তুই চলে যাওয়ার সাথে নাহলে আমাকে তোমার কে অধিকার কে চলে আমি কেন শুনবো উল্টা পাল্টা এবার বললেন যে ও না ও সম্মান দিল না ওকে সম্মান দিল চিনি না তো কেন ওকে চিনি না আমি তুই কে নিকাতের মাকে ফোন করেছিল মা তারা আগে দেখা কোনো যে নিকাতের মা কি মরে গেছে নাকি এটা কথা কোনো যে নিকাতের মা মরে গেছে নাকি এক রোববারে আসতে পারলো না আরেক রোববারেও মরে গেছে হ্যাঁ তখন এবার রানে যখন দিয়েছি জ্বালা তখন এবার ফোন লাগিয়েছে হ্যাঁ এবার ফোন লাগিয়ে আমি ওকে আগে একটাই করতে বললাম তুই আমাকে না না বলি মার্শাল না বলি তোকে আমার বলবো তোমার তোমার জেনেছে
একটা কথা তো সব কিছু জামাই হলি বলতে পারি আসলে যে সরকার আছে
বাড়িতে দেওয়া দিন করে রাখা কি হয়েছে কথা নয়
নিজের ভিতরে শুরু হয় বলে দিলা আমি এখন পয়সা কি করতে টাকা দিতে তাহলে কিছু না কিছু না কেন ভাবছি তো বল
Thank you. যে জানুয়ারি বাচ্চা লাগে না রাত 15 দিন থেকে একই রকম মারতে থাকে
পেয়ে গেছে আজকে যা বলেছি সাংঘাতিক বলেছে একটা এই ছাড়াই বলতে ভাড়া করে দিতে ভাড়া করে জানো যেটা বলি প্লাস যা শুরু করে যাই গো যখন দরকার হবে তখন তোকে নিয়ে যাবো যাবে Consider the sister. What did you tell me? When you have to do?
একটা মানুষ কলেজ করে শুধু করা হলে শুধু রাখা করে
और गरम কেন এত ভিতরে থেকে ছিল ওটা বলে দিই এটা কি দিয়েছে
তুমি তো নাম জানলে নাম শুনলে বলবে যে তোমার কোথায় উত্তর
কাজে পাঠিয়ে তুমি কেন কাজ করতে
কতক্ষণ নিজের ইংরাজিতে নিজের কম্পিউটারে আমি আজকে তোমার দিদিরা তোমার ভাবনার রূপ থেকে আমি অবাক হয়ে গেছি আমি
আরে আগে
দরজাটা পানি দিতে পারবো না
আগে দিনে
তুমি কি করবো না করবো আমি জানি না আমি জীবনে দরজাটা পানি দিতে পারবো না।
ওপেন ভিডিওর মধ্যে তোমার সঙ্গে অ্যাড্রেস তুমি আমাদের সংসার আছে না তোমার কি করতে এসেছিস টাকা দিবে টাকা নিলে বল কিছু শুনবে কিছু ভাঙলি গেল বললাম তোর কেন আসলে দিবি কেন
আসলো না তোমার ভাই আমার সাথে মুখ ছিল বেরোলো না কেন বেরোলো না কেন আমাকে আগে বেড়া মুখ করেছিল তো তোর সম্মানটা তোকে কোথায় দিলাম আমি ভাগনাটা কুত্তা একদম
বুঝে দিবি তোর মামার গরম শুনি আমি একটা গরম শুনি বুঝে দিবি
কেমন হাজার বার বলছে তোর বল বুঝে গেছে যে আমি কেমন নেই ভালো নেই তোর মাথা পারে না তো আমিও যেন তোর মাথা পারে না তো ওই জন্য আমার মাথাকে ফাঁসি লেগেছে নাকি তোর জ্বালা দিতে পারবে না যখন আমার মাথাগুলো আমার থেকে বেলা অল্প দরদ বেশি হয়ে যায় কি বলবো তো দরদ কখন বেশি হয় কি কথা কথা বললাম ভাইয়ের জন্য ভক করে গায়ে আগুন লেগে গেল ওইরকম করতে না আমার কথাটা বললেছি এটা বলছি
ভালো কথা বলে না বলবো মনটা করে
সম্পূর্ণ কথা উল্টা বলেছে
সম্পূর্ণ কথা উল্টা
একটা কথা তো নয় না ভালো রেখে গেলাম ঝগড়াটা না ওটা কোনো ভালো করে জিজ্ঞাসা করছি যে কি হয়েছিল হ্যাঁ জিজ্ঞাসা করছি তুমি আসলাম মেমো কেন করছে আমার সঙ্গে মেমো করে দেখলাম কিছু বলতে পারছে না জানে যে আমি অমিতটা করছে সচেতন শুনে গিয়েছিল উপর থেকে বলতে ছাড়ি কেমন নাম দুনিয়াতে দেখছে আমি জানি না যে মামাটা এসছে আমি কোনদিন গলা পেলাম আমি আপনাদের রানার মা ছিল সরকার ছিল আর ওই সিয়ারা ছিল পেপার ছিল তখন এক পালা ঠেলে দিয়ে করছে তোমার ভাই ভাইকে সুযোগ পাইনি মানে ইচ্ছা করে বাবু করে দিলে বলুন মানে গরমে হ্যাঁ ওই নাম গান করছে তো রাস্তাতে এগোতে এসছে এগোতে এসছে এতদিন কোথায় গেছিল এতদিন বলে এক কাপ চা করেছিল না আমাকে এসেছিল তো উপর থেকে নাম ছিল না আর আজকে হঠাৎ মন শুনলাম হয়ে গেল মানে তো বুঝতে হবে মানে তো বুঝতে হবে মানে তো বুঝতে হবে উল্টা পাল্টা লাগতে দিয়ে একটা বই না কত কি ভাইদের পছন্দ লাগে না
যেমন বলেছে তেমন পেল, এবার নিন্দা করলে মানুষ যদি বলতো নিন্দা করতে ভালো মানুষ থাকবে।
কি বলছে করতেছি আমি কেন হবে কেন হবে ফেসবুক ইউটিউবে সবাই ডাউনলোড করে ছাড়বো দেখো দেখ
ওই বইটা খুল ঘুমায় যায় সকাল পরীক্ষা আছে। Bobby picked the guy and Mara and বললাম শুনে তাহলে ভালো ছিল ওই কিছু করেছিল বিয়ের আগে একটা ভালো দিয়েছিল করেছিল কি করেছিল বিয়ের আগে বাজারে ছেড়ে আরে রাস্তা দিয়ে ব্যবহার না তো চিনতে পারলো মানুষ যে ওরা চিনতে পারলো রাস্তা এটা ছেড়ে গেল এই জন্য প্রশ্ন করে আমি কর্মে যাওয়া করছি
তোমরা যখন কথা বলতে ওই মেয়েদের ছেলেদের মানে আমরা কিছু করলে আমাকে কাজ করতে ওই জন্য তো মানে ওকে স্পিড
কত বাজে গায়ে হাতে কথা বলতে হবে তারপরে ঘর না ওদিকে ঘরে
মাথার দাম না
আমি করি না কথা বলতে না মুখ কেউ দেখে মুখ কেউ দেখে একটু বেহায় আমি চলে আসে গায়ে হাত দিয়ে কথা বলছি
একটা কথা বললাম ও তখন বলছিলেন যে কানটার মাথা হবে না ছেড়ে দিব আমাকে ওকে দিলাম ওই কেস দিতে আমি আর কাউকে পরোয়া করিনি কাউকে ভয় করে কথা বলি কারণ দরকার নাই আমি অনেকদিন ভয় করেছি সম্মান করেছি আর সম্মান দিব না সম্মান দেবো না আমি চিনি না যাদের কেউ নাই কার বাপ নাই মা নাই একটা ছেলে দিব তারা কি করে সংসার করছে আমি আমার নিজের খাতাতে করে দিয়েছি আমি নিজেকে কষ্ট করে আমার বাচ্চাদের জন্য আমি করে দিয়েছি দরকার নাই পুরো আমরা থাকে
কি আছে তোমার পরিষ্কার তো কাজ দেয় না
তোমাকে যেমন বললাম যে দেখো এই ঘটনাগুলো বললে যে মানুষ করেছে থেকে আজকে দেখা বলে বাগনা আমাদের আমার গলা করে যাবো না বাগনাটা বাগনা বললাম করে বলছি
সরি বলেছো কথা ছিল বলবে একই কাহিনী কেমন সব করবো ক্যামেরা পারে মায়ের সবাই বলছিলাম যে ছেড়ে না ভান্ডার করে দিচ্ছে বড় বড় জীবনে আমার কিছু করেছিস
এখন তোমার সংসার তোমার সংসার হয়েছে করবো না পুরা করবো কেমন ভাষায় কেমন করছি তেমন করে খবরকার অনেক কথা বলেছো অনেক শুনেছি জানা বলবে কেউ হয় অলিয়ার কেউ হয় অলিয়ার না বলতে যাবো না আমার তুমি এগুলো কথা বলে বড়টার নাম দেখি ইচ্ছা করে ইচ্ছা বলতে বলার আমি আমার বই বাড়িতে আমি নিন্দা করেছিলাম তুই আমি নিন্দা করবি তুলে ওই দিন এইগুলো কথা না বলি এই জন্য আমাকে প্রমিস করেছিল প্রমিসের বার ছিল তুই প্রমিস করেছিলি যে আমরা বললাম হয়ে গেল তুই তো মনটা বলে আমার বড় না উল্টা রাখিস তুই যেটা বলিস আমি ওটা বললা হ্যাঁ মানতে পারলে মান না খুব দেখতে হবে কোন সময় দেখে এখন মনে লাগবে
না এই শালা আজকে কাল লাগে দেখেছে বুঝলে সকালে কালকে রাত্রে মাগিস্তান বন্ধ করছে আশা বন্ধ করবো বুঝলে বলো কার আশা বন্ধ করবে যাওয়া আশা বন্ধ আর যাওয়া আশা বন্ধ ওই জন্য আজ আমাদের এইগুলাই প্ল্যান করে গেছিল उसका तो ये विचार করতে বুঝলে আর হয়ে গেল উল্টা ওরা তোমাদের সাথে থাকে
ওরা মনে করেনি যে আমি যাবো ওখানে ও বইনকে নিয়েছিল বাকিকে নিয়েছিল পোলাও খেলে তো আর বলতো আর শাসে তো
করবো এই করবো যেতে দেবো না ও কম আমাদের কাছে করে দেবো হ্যাঁ
দে না আমি ওটাই নিব তোর মনে টাইমটা
বাকি বলে দেখান না সরিয়ে বাপের যত তোমাকে ছেড়ে দিবি
বাপ তোকে জন্ম দিলাম না আমি বাপের জন্য যতদিন বেঁচে থাকবো ততদিন করবো আমি ততদিন করবো মায়ের জন্য মন করবো না মা আমি সব ভালো না মা নামে কলঙ্ক মা নামে তোর কলঙ্ক তুই হ্যাঁ
বলে দিলাম পরে সংসারের মাথায় ওই কান ধরলে আর সংসার কারো বিষয় আসবো না